Week in Destiny, Grandmasters have started, so I decided to put together a video full of different exotics for builds that you might want to use for Grandmasters this season, as Grandmasters drop really good loot, Ascendant Shards, Prisms, the Adept version of the Nightfall weapons, and I believe this week, which is Lake of Shadows, is dropping the new Arc Waveframe grenade launcher that I also need to go get, but this is overall just a list of a bunch of exotic builds that I really enjoy running in Grandmasters, whether it's just for survivability, clearing ads, they're all extremely good exotics to use, and I base this off of how easy it's going to be for you to get through a Grandmaster using these particular exotics. So like, comment, and subscribe if you want to keep seeing more. Comment down below what you're going to use for Grandmasters this season, and let's have a quick word from ours. To start this list off, we're going to be taking a look at Void Hunters. The first exotic on this particular list is going to be Gyrfalcons Hauberk. Overall, a good choice if you want to be having a more aggressive playstyle in your Grandmasters, as when we leave invisibility, all of our void weapons will have volatile rounds, which are extremely nice to have, as it's going to lead to those volatile explosions, which can take care of ads fairly easily, and they can chunk down champions also with ease, and we're just going to get it pretty much just by playing the normal loop of a Void Hunter. The next exotic on this list is Omnioculus. This exotic is a classic for Grandmasters and is always highly recommended for new players or when taking new players into a Grandmaster and they don't really have that experience. When you become invisible or when allies become invisible, you will get damage resistance. This exotic has saved my life many times in Grandmasters and even day 1 raids, as sometimes when you go invisible, enemies will still target you and this will give you some extra breathing room. It's also going to make it very easy to revive allies in those high stress situations. Finally, for Void Hunters is probably my favorite and top choice for running Grandmasters, and that is Orpheus Rigs. This is an extremely solid choice for having constant tethers and boss rooms or even rooms with a ton of ads and champions. Tethering targets is going to give us super energy back up to about 50% of our super. Pair this with another hunter with a similar exotic like another Orpheus Rigs or Blade Barrage with Shards of Galanor or a Warlock running well, and you will have tethers to throw everywhere. You will pretty much have a tether for every single moment inside of a Grandmaster Nightfall. Moving on to our Solar Hunters, we're going to start with Celestial Nighthawk. I have never been more impressed with an exotic buff than I am with this. Celestial Nighthawk has always been one of my favorite Solar Hunter exotics. On top of shooting its one high damage bullet, when we get a precision defeat, it's going to decrease the cooldown of our super, meaning we're going to get this back quite often and very quickly. And when we defeat a target, we get 30% of it back, and it got a 20% damage buff on top of that, making it a very good contender for just dealing with bosses and Grandmasters or even champions. The other option for my Solar Hunters is going to be Shards of Galanor. Much like Nighthawk, this exotic got some very nice love. It kept its ability to keep 50% of its super when you deal damage with your Blade Barrage, but now has the added benefit of every time you get a knife defeat, you're also going to be decreasing our super cooldown, which is going to lead to a ton of Blade Barrage for champions to deal with, and it does stack with hands-on, so you can get that super back even faster. The last thing we're going to look at for hunters is a Stasis hunter with Renewal Grasps. This exotic got a massive buff by basically rolling back all the nerfs it had previously gotten, making it an easy top choice if you want to run Stasis Hunter in your Grandmaster. This exotic enhances your Dust Field grenades by increasing their size by 25%, giving your allies a 25% damage resistance, and foes caught inside the globe of the Dusk Field deal 50% less damage. This allows Stasis Hunters to play a more support-like role on top of being able to control the battlefield with all the slowing and freezing they can do with their shurikens and even their Dust Field grenades. Moving on to Warlocks, we're going to be taking a look at their solar options, and the first thing we're going to look at is Phoenix Protocol. This is easily one of the best options for solar Warlocks who run in Grandmasters, as when you and your allies defeat targets inside the well, it is going to give you super energy back up to 50%. This will allow you to be able to place tons of wells and be able to place them very often, and this exotic is even more helpful since Well of Radiance got a bit of a cooldown nerf at the beginning of the season. Yes, that takes effect in PvE, so again, Phoenix Protocol works very well with this. Another really good solar option for Warlocks is Apotheosis Veil. This exotic has an amazing glow up, as before this season, this exotic was an instant dismantle for me. Now I'm spending materials to try to get a role that I want. At the beginning of this season, they made it so casting your super grants you and allies nearby Cure Tier 3, which is a very nice healing buff, and more importantly, when our super ends, we get 8 seconds of insane melee and grenade energy cooldown. So when we cast our well, it counts as our super being used. So we can sit inside that well, throw grenades and melees for the full 8 seconds, allowing us to deal some amazing damage to whatever is unfortunate enough to be standing in front of us. And can it cause ignitions? It can play very well into our entire solar subclass. The final solar warlock option we have is a personal favorite of mine, and that is Dawn Chorus. It makes our Scorch and Daybreak super better. When I use this, I still stay on well, as Daybreak is still a little iffy in Grandmaster content, but with this we can get ignitions easily, spread Scorch at the same time, and I can't wait to try this in its entirety with the Dragon's Breath exotic rocket launcher inside of Grandmasters. This is going to be scorched earth everything, and I'm really looking forward to that. Moving on to our Stasis option, it's very obviously Osmiomancy Gloves. If you watched my build video last week, then you know how I feel about this exotic. It is easily one of the best exotics, not for just Grandmasters, but any high-end content. This exotic simply makes our cold snaps better, recharges them when they freeze a target, and gives us an extra charge them. With this, we can throw down turrets, 2 turrets, just throw a ton of cold snap grenades, or even both, allowing us to take full control of the battlefield and make it so champions will not be able to harass you, and make it so ads will be able to shoot you. It is an amazing choice to have. Finally, for our warlocks, we're going to be looking at Strand, and we're going to be obviously taking Necrotic Grips. This exotic has always been a good choice for this subclass pairing, as it allows us to spend targets easily, one paired with Mindspun Evocation and Osteo Striga. However, this season, Osteo got a bit of a nerf, and there are no SMG mods on the artifact. But we can use the original weapon that has always had that poison effect, and that is Thorn. It got a very nice new catalyst this season. We have Unstoppable Hand Cannon this season to help it as well, meaning that we can still take that very nice just suspend everything build, and we can use it with Necrotic Grips and Thorn. Another option here is Verity's Brow and the new Bow Wishkeeper that I haven't really played with too much, but I've seen some people use that. It's going to be very good. I'm still going to try Thorn out on Strand with Necrotic Grips, and even on a Void subclass as well. And finally, let's take a look at Titans. We're going to start with Void, and we're going to go with Heart of Inmost Light for this. I know this exotic can be used with extreme effectiveness on all subclasses. It is literally the Swiss Army knife of Titan exotics, but I find it to work best with Void. When we use one ability, it's going to empower the other 2, which is going to give us increased damage to our melee and grenades, and it's going to give more health to our barricades, which also gives us a very nice gameplay loop. Grenade, melee, barricade. Grenade, melee, barricade. Very nice. With the reduced cooldowns, however, we can drop those barricades quite often, and with the aspect Bastion, we can give our entire team a Void Overshield, which is going to then reduce the damage they take. Overall, I really like Heart of Inmost Light specifically for Void, but of course, you can use it on any subclass you wish to use. Moving on to Solar, Pyroogale Gauntlets. This is my go-to solar exotic for Titans from now on, as it makes Burning Maul do one big slam, creates fire cyclones when it hits, and you can make them with our Consecration Slam. This can make turrets ignite back to back, and does some extremely good damage to bosses and champions as well. For Stasis Titans, we have a bit of a favorite of mine, and that is Hoarfrost-Z. This build has been a ton of fun to use. I'm currently working on a full version of it. We replace our barricade with a wall of Stasis Crystals. Stasis Crystals, when shattered, deal some hefty damage even without the fragment that increases us, so with this we can easily freeze targets with our barricade or even our Glacier Grenades, destroy them, take out ads, and chunk champions, and give us a nice refresh when we use other fragments paired with this. Finally, for Titans, we're going to look at Strand, and we're going to be taking a look at Precious Scars. Now, before we even start talking about this exotic, I know it's ugly, and the ornament doesn't help, but it's so good. At the beginning of this season, its heal got replaced with 3 seconds of restoration when we defeat a target with a weapon matching our subclass type, on top of it giving us the overshield when we get revived ourselves or revive a teammate. This paired with a Strand weapon, Woven Mail, and Banner of War makes us quite literally unkillable. This is a build that I'm going to be posting tomorrow, so if you want to take a look at that, please consider subscribing and checking that out when it comes out. And with that, that is the final thing of this particular video. Not a lot of Titan builds, because Titan builds, honestly, I feel like are very refined to a specific point. So Titans are very just like, all right, which exotic am I using? That's the one we're going to use. If it is your first time running a Grandmaster, I highly recommend Omnioculus. I highly recommend Osmiomancy Gloves, and I highly recommend this Precious Scar Strand build as, again, unkillable. But with that, that is the video for today. So I hope you all liked it. Please comment down below what you're going to be using in Grandmasters for yourselves this season, and I will see you all in the next video.